Anthony, let's get into this question. Anthony, I'm looking for some advice. I'm a 38-year-old male and I ride about 10 hours per week. I've been training for about 2 years on the bike. I played football until I found cycling through a work event and fell in love with it. I found a great cycling group and I'm going to race a bit this year. My question is around heart rate. I'm not sure, but it seems alarmingly high. I look at my bike computer and my heart rate never drops below 165 and spikes to the mid 180s when I'm climbing. Is this normal and what can I do to work on getting this lower but keep my pace?
I think the climbing at 180s looks fine. It never drops below 165. Potentially not brilliant, but heart rate is so individual. So maybe instead of addressing specifically, because we don't know, 165 could be his, unlikely, but it could be his zone 2. If he's, 210. Like I coach a lad and he's averaging like 190 on rides. And he's super young. But let's, instead of addressing that specifically, give some overarching advice to people who want to ride faster and keep their heart rate low. I've broken this down into 3 steps, which I think are really easy to replicate, and almost anybody at any level can really get something from this. But I suppose an overarching principle is we're going for simplicity here over chasing magic bullets. I'm not going to tell you to check out the latest ketone or some really new sexy fad. This is about old school consistency. And with that said, I think there is 3 ways to really do this very well. The first one maybe isn't something you will expect, and it's fueling. So if we start to bump our fuel up considerably in the 80 to 100 grams of carbohydrates per hour, which is a lot for a lot of people listening to this podcast, proper fueling is going to keep your blood glucose stable, reducing reliance on glycogen breakdown and stress hormones like cortisol, which all spike the heart rate. So your heart rate's going to stay lower, like 120 or 130 BPM at a given power, say 280 watts, because you're not fighting energy deficits all the time. And research backs this up. Carb intake above 90 grams per hour can lower perceived effort and heart rate by 5 to 10% versus being underfueled, which is massive. Glycogen depletion forces your body to ramp up fat oxidation and glycogenesis, both really inefficient processes. And as a result, your heart rate climbs like 10 to 20 BPM for the same wattage, as your system has to work harder to compensate, undermining that aerobic efficiency. So fueling at 90 to 100 grams per hour, it can really boost sustainable power by up to 50 watts. Some of the studies are showing, like that's 10 to 20% improvement compared to underfueled athletes, while keeping heart rate 5 to 15 beats lower in some of these studies. I'll reference them in the description below. So that's step 1, I think, is a fueling part of this in kind of the 3-step formula that I've put together.
Which I think, as this listener has written in, he's only training for about 2 years. I would say that is part of it.
It took me 10 years to get fueling right.
Yeah, I agree.
Next up, I think it's actually old school. It's training, making sure you're training right. You're looking to build an aerobic base. There's some brilliant podcasts we've had on this. A couple that spring to mind: John Wakefield's conversation, he's a Red Bull coach, and Dan Lorang, another Red Bull coach. They're both on the channel and people can go and check them out. But the foundation that John Wakefield talks about is around 80% of your weekly training hours in zone 1 or zone 2. And if you're not sure what zone 1 or zone 2 is relative to yourself, you can jump over to our website and we have a free zone calculator over there. It's just roadmancycling.com/members. Totally free. You can download it, plug in your 20-minute test results, and it'll spit out either your heart rate zones or your power zones. You're going to need to do a 25-minute test if you're doing heart rate. Why do you care about riding around in zone 2? Like, what does this actually do? Well, we're looking to boost our mitochondria. They're like the powerhouses of our muscles. So we're trying to make our muscles better at using oxygen and fat for a fuel source. You've heard this idea of metabolic flexibility. Dan Lorang talks about that at length in the podcast I have with him. Now, you're talking to get these adaptations like longer endurance rides in the 3 to 5 hour range, steady, controlled, conversational pace. If you're only using perceived effort, it's like a 4 or a 5 out of 10 where you can chat to someone without being broken. While the remaining 20% of your training. So if you're 80% zone 1, zone 2, the remaining 20% of your training, you're starting to layer in intensity in a structured manner. You're looking to progressively overload your training week on week, 3 weeks build, 1 week decompression. We have a video we released about 2 weeks ago. It's a 7-day training plan, which really goes into details on that. And I think if this is something you're looking to explore, jump over and watch the 7-day video. I think we're going to expand on that and bring a 30-day video pretty soon, talking to people exactly how you can build a training plan. So if you've step 1 is your fueling, step 2 is training properly, and step 3, I think, is just being more aero on the bike. Because less drag means less effort at the same speed. Like you can dial in your position, moving around your bars, tighter tucks, sleeker helmet, tighter fitting clothes, aero socks. You could save 10 to 50 watts, depending on what your baseline is, quite easily. If you wanted to geek out further, we had knocking around somewhere, I think you have it over there, a gimbly aero sensor, which I haven't played around with it too much yet, but you're getting free speed for no extra heartbeats.
Yeah, I think, okay, reading this message and you're kind of saying, wow, 165 is quite high for somebody. I mean, when I started riding with the road band spin a couple of years ago, and up until really this entire winter that I did in zone 2 to try and bring that heart rate down and keep my pace but my heart rate down, I was definitely coming back from rides 3.5 hour spins. My average would be 165. So this is definitely something that people are, powering
It's
through.
like going to a bike race, I guess.
Yeah, it does. I mean,
but the group was too high a standard for where you were at
Yeah.
when you were coming out on a group. And again, that's just people finding a suitable group for their level.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't be pinned full gas all day in your group.
Yeah, I agree. Like I'm not really at the stage where I'm really focused on aero or those kind of gains, but absolutely eating and a rake of zone 1, zone 2 training has completely, it's turned around kind of where that super high heart rate is all of the time. So
I think that's a good point you made as well, where you're not at the stage. I think even though I presented those 3 sort of bullet points rather than 3 steps, I actually, with the benefit of you actually saying that, think you're right. There's a hierarchy to them that you should focus on: training first, fueling secondary, aero if you have the first 2 boxed off.
Yeah, I would actually turn that on its head and say
Maybe
fueling first,
yeah,
because I just don't think you're going to get the adaptations if you're not eating even when you're training.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Learn from the best.
I retract my prior statement. Roadman, whether you're a weekend warrior or a world tour rider, the right tools can make all the difference. Enter 4Eye's Precision 3 Plus Power Meter, the latest innovation from 4Eye, designed to help you reach peak performance. The Precision 3 Plus Power Meter is a compact yet powerful unit. It weighs just 9 grams and it's packed with features that set it apart, including integration with Apple's Find My network, giving you the peace of mind by letting you track your power meter wherever it is. Plus, you've got up to 800 hours of battery life. We all know that accuracy is key, and 4Eyes delivers a groundbreaking plus or minus 1% accuracy thanks to their unique 3D strain gauge technology. For those seeking even more data, the Precision 3 Plus Pro Power Meter offers dual-sided power meter metrics, giving you detailed insights into pedaling efficiency, torque effectiveness, and left-right balance. 4Eyes offers versatile product options to suit your needs. Choose from ride-ready power meters with pre-installed units on Shimano cranks, or up for factory-installed power meter where you send in your crankset for a custom installation. Ready to elevate your cycling game? Trust 4Eyes Precision 3 Plus Power Meter. Precision, performance, and peace of mind all in one. Learn more by visiting 4iiii.com. That's 4iiii.com. I'm going to put that in the description down below.